A Midsummer Paradise has been far from a paradise for people who didn't pull multiple copies of Ocean Breeze Luluca, much less for people who didn't pull any copies of her, but I'm here to show you how to bust open this event faster than Luluca's busting apart those pants. Now in this guide we'll be tackling level number 4. I know there are 5 levels. That 5th level is incredibly difficult. I'm not entirely sure we'll be able to pull it off without Luluca in some form, but I'll cover that in a later video. Right now I want to show you how to handle floor number 4 full auto without Luluca with a pretty stable team. It's not the fastest team, but it's a stable team, and best part is it doesn't use any ML5 units, no limited artifacts. In fact, the only limited unit we're going to use is Seaside Bologna, who pretty much everybody should have by now. If you don't have Seaside Bologna, I will mention some alternatives to her. They probably will be other limiteds or MLs, but hey, you gotta meet me halfway. This event is not free to play friendly. To start things off, you're going to need Rowana. She is the one unit that is irreplaceable. If you don't have Rowana, you need to pull Luluca or just settle for doing the level 3 challenge only. It's your standard run-of-the-mill Rowana. The counter set is not necessary. I put her on Shamadra's staff to boost her healing a little bit. It may not be necessary. If you have it either from the banner or you got it from the store, you could swap it out for the event artifact and boost your currency drops. Otherwise, I strongly recommend Shamadra's staff or some other heal boosting artifact like Guardian Ice Crystal, something to help with healing and sustain in this fight. The next unit we're going to use is the limited unit, Seaside Bologna. She's been around often enough that you should have her by now. If you don't have Seaside Bologna, you could use Lone Crescent Bologna, you could use Dark Corvus of all people. There's Zahak, Rimuru, Landy, whole host of other options, or even a unit like Asaria for defense break. Now make sure you pick up her current EE. I like the S2 or the number 2 EE for extra damage for this, and put her on a good damage artifact. I use Symbol of Unity, but you could use any damage boosting artifact. Next is going to be Savior Auden. She is going to be our free-to-play savior for this fight. I put her on Violet Talisman to try to get her as close to 100% dodge chance as possible. You can run her on any other evasion artifact if you like. With Fat Cat on the team, it'll keep her near 90, but with Violet Talisman, you can actually push the 100% evasion threshold, and that's what makes her survive in this. And of course, Fat Cat being our anchor for this team. He also has a defense break in his kit, which is really nice. I ran him on the water gun artifact to boost effectiveness to help stick the defense break and other debuffs on the team, like the one from Seaside Bologna. Her effectiveness wasn't quite up to par, but that artifact will help quite a bit. He is largely there to add the evasion to the team and make it more stable. Team number 2, we're using the same Rowana, of course, and I'm using a really bad Alencia. I basically just broke my injury set in order to give her enough effectiveness. You could probably build a much better Alencia than this, but hey, I didn't want to waste gold. Ran her on the Golden Rose artifact for a little bit of healing. You could run her on Sigurd's Scythe or any damage dealing artifact like Draco Plate. Have her on her S1 EE for extra healing. Try to squeeze a little bit of effectiveness on her. Get her as close to 35%, plus the 50% from Mind's Eye will give you the maximum chance to debuff. Next, we're running Shu as our secondary principal damage dealer. Again, I had a second Golden Rose, so I used that. Same as with Alencia, you could run Draco Plate or Sigurd's Scythe or any other damage dealing artifact. And the third unit we're going to hold the team down with is Green Violet. He's just there to do damage. He self-cleanses, he does really good damage. He's got some evasion, which can help keep him from being debuffed, knock on wood. Lifesteal is a must on some of these units like Bologna and Violet. Also, it doesn't preload, so make sure you equip your pet that gives bonus currency from side stories. It does work here, so if you're running without the pet, you're missing out on some currency. So this is how the full auto team works.
That was never gonna work. You can run.
Get used to seeing Lethe's animation because it's going to happen a lot. Since you don't have Luluca on the team without any imprints, she's going to counter pretty much every single attack. That's why we need Rowana on the team. But because of the evasion, knock on wood, we keep the debuffs off of Savior Auden, and that lets her CR push from Rowana, because she's not going to have the restrict buff on her the entire time. Now eventually she will stick the restrict buff. Unfortunately in this fight she stuck it kinda early. One of the sins of using Violet's Talisman is that the evasion doesn't build up very quickly.
You'll never get close to me. Such incompetence. May the light.
Rowana is fantastic for this. I don't see a way to do it without her. She will keep the healing going. Fat Cat takes hits to the chin, keeps on swinging. His defense break on his S3 is really nice to help speed it along. Seaside Bologna builds up focus and drops debuffs. Now Lethe does cleanse debuffs just about as fast as she strips them from you. But if you can get Bologna's S2 to slap into defense break, which we didn't, unfortunate, it can really help speed things along.
Dealing with you is just a waste of my time.
The damage is high. You need to build tanky for this. Tanky over damage in a lot of cases.
Get out of my sight.
A lot of my units I exchanged speed boots for HP boots.
Let's start with something light.
This is my true will.
Do we get a defense break? So there's the defense break.
Get out of my sight.
So we got a pretty good hit off of that.
You can't hide.
I won't go easy on you.
Get out of my sight. That was never gonna work.
It's too late to back out now.
You can run.
Nice, we got a target debuff off of Seaside Bologna, so we should be doing extra good damage now. Nice strong hit from Aiden. Now Lone Crescent Bologna I think is just better than Aiden. If you have Lone Crescent Bologna, you run her in the place of Savior Auden and you will get just as consistent clears that will probably be faster.
You can run, but you can't hide.
If you run Lone Crescent Bologna, you don't really need the evasion as much, and you can replace Fat Cat with a True Knight. Last Rider Crow with evasion is fantastic. Green Charles works really, really well if you build him tanky enough to take it. If you're running either of the Knights, I'd recommend the Sword of Azera artifact to help keep them alive.
You can run, but you can't hide.
It's too late to back out now.
And surprising as it sounds, you can run Dark Corvus in the place of either Bologna or Auden. Dark Corvus with Strat Gauntlet has enough ER that he doesn't get restricted, he constantly gets pushed, and when it's his turn, he gets his S3 off every single time. All these attacks stack his skill up, and that's free 25 to 30k fixed damage every time he does his S3, plus the self-heal. So he's actually freakishly good here. Now we're on to team number 2, and we're pretty much relying on Shu doing Shu things.
That was never gonna work.
Hopefully Violet evades.
I'll have you kneel under this sword.
Even if Violet doesn't evade, he can cleanse with his S2,
Be grateful that
and that makes him immune to the, or not immune to, but that gets rid of the restrict buff. That means every single counter that comes off of Lethe will push Violet up.
Never get close to me. Such incompetence.
I'll smash that arrogant face of yours into the ground.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Unless Violet gets hit and gets the restrict put on him.
You keep swarming. You'll only prolong the pain.
So the Kraken attack goes through evasion. You can't avoid that one, but everything else you can try to
Get out of
evade.
my sight.
In place of Green Violet, you can run Remnant Violet. In place of Shu or Alencia, you can also run Remnant Violet. You can even run Violet and Rylet on the Fat Cat team and put Alencia and Shu with Bologna on the other team. So there is a lot of mix and match that can happen here. You've got to play to your strengths and find the combination that works best for you. This seemed pretty stable and consistent. I ran this team about a dozen times, only had one fail.
Can't hide.
Go for it!
That was never gonna work. Get out of my sight.
How should I do
Violet
this?
countering with each attack is really nice.
My sword will pierce your heart.
Now because he has no restrict, when Lethe does her extra attacks into
Never get close to me.
Rowana, you can watch Violet on the left on the CR bar. Pushes down just a little bit.
Annoying vermin must be crushed.
You can run, but you can't hide.
You can see Violet move substantially down the bar from that attack.
That was never gonna work.
And
You keep
push down
swarming.
again. That's the beauty of evasion units. If you can avoid the restrict either through evasion or by stacking effect resistance, Rowana pushes can help cycle the units through.
Should be enough.
And that's it. That's how you beat floor number 4 without using any ML5 units, without using Luluca, and without using any limited units or artifacts beyond Seaside Bologna, who I gave you options to replace. I hope this helps you guys complete this event. I really, really hope this event gets altered. Smilegate, if you're seeing this, please nerf this event. It's not fun content. It's not compelling content. It's frustrating a lot of people, and we hear you guys. And send in your feedback. Let Smilegate know how you feel. Don't take it out on the community managers. They're on our side. They're trying to do the best to bridge the gap. So let them know how you feel, but be polite. And hopefully this will get resolved to everybody's liking. Have a great one, everybody. Take care.